I never expected a whispered secret from the maid to unveil a shocking family truth. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was shining outside, but inside, my heart was heavy. I stood in the grand hallway of our old mansion, surrounded by dusty portraits, each eye seeming to watch me with secrets of their own. The air was thick with tension, almost palpable like the weight of a storm brewing overhead. I was lost in my thoughts, aching with confusion and hurt. My family was always so perfect, so normal. Yet, here I was, staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror, feeling more like a stranger than a daughter. I had my suspicions, but I buried them deep, hoping they would disappear. My father's loving smile, my mother's soft laughter, these were memories I cherished. But lately, all those smiles felt forced, like a tightrope walker on the verge of a fall. That afternoon, Maria, our housemaid, approached me. Her hands trembled as she spoke, and her voice was barely above a whisper. "You need to know," she said, glancing nervously over her shoulder. I could see the fear etched on her face, her eyes darting to the shadows like a rabbit sensing a predator. I held my breath, my heart pounding wildly. What could she possibly have to say that would cause this kind of fear? "There's a secret about your family," she continued, her voice shaking. My heart raced faster. All the stories of whispered rumors, the hushed conversations I caught my parents having late at night. Was there something they weren't telling me? Minutes felt like hours as I stood frozen, my pulse thrumming in my ears. The world faded around me, leaving only the tense space between us. Maria took a step closer, hesitant but determined. "They're not who you think they are," she breathed, her breath hitching as if the words were too heavy to bear. I felt a lump rise in my throat. I wanted to scream, to demand answers. Instead, silence hung in the air, thick and electric. My palms turned clammy. "What do you mean?" I managed to choke out, the weight of fear settling in my chest. She hesitated again, glancing around as if the walls had ears. "There's a truth that could change everything about your mother's past." Her voice cracked as she spoke, and that single statement ignited a cold chill in my bones. What could possibly be hidden in her past that would affect me? My entire life felt like it was unraveling. Suddenly, our conversation was interrupted by a loud crash from the kitchen, followed by angry voices. My heart jumped in my chest, and I could practically taste the tension in the air. I shot a frantic look back at Maria, my mind racing with questions that had no answers. Her eyes were wide, betraying the fear that we both felt. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment. The truth of my family seemed just out of reach, simmering like a pot about to boil over. What lay beyond this secret? Would it destroy everything I thought I knew? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crash from the kitchen echoed like a thunderclap in the otherwise still mansion, jolting me back to the fractured reality surrounding me. I glanced at Maria, panic radiating off her frame. We exchanged a brief look of understanding. Whatever was happening beyond those walls felt momentous, as if it too were entwined with the truth Maria had barely begun to unveil. "Stay here," I whispered, though my voice lacked conviction. It was less a command and more an instinct to cling to some shred of safety amid the chaos. I stepped away, my heart pounding. Driven by a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, I crept toward the kitchen. The voices grew clearer, and I paused just outside the doorway, straining to make sense of the commotion. "You can't let her find out. Not yet," came a voice I recognized, me mother's, but it sounded frayed and raw, unlike the gentle tone I had known all my life. "It's too late for that, Alice. The longer we hide it, the worse it will be when she does find out," countered my father, his voice thick with urgency. A shiver ran through me at the desperate cadence. It felt as though the very foundation of everything I had known was gradually coming apart. What if she hates us? What if we lose her? My mother's words pierced the air like a fragile glass shattering, leaving behind the possibility of heartbreak. The weight of their fears crashed against my chest, an ominous foreboding whispering that the truth they protected was not just heavy, it was wrecking. I took a deep breath, enough to steel myself, and pushed the kitchen door open. It swung wide, revealing pots rattling on the stove and remnants of what appeared to be a disastrous attempt at dinner. Spices lay scattered like confetti, and the once bright and welcoming kitchen now mirrored the anxiety steeping in my heart. Both of my parents turned towards me, their expressions caught between surprise and guilt, their eyes wide as if I were a stranger, not their daughter. "What's going on?" I demanded, pulling strength from every fiber of my being. "What are you hiding?" The words came out sharper than I intended, echoing the confusion swirling within me. My father stepped forward, but he hesitated, struggling for words that would not come. We were just talking," he stammered, but it felt like a flimsy veil over a growing storm. "About me? About what?" I pressed, desperation creeping into my voice. I felt like a child searching for safety amid a tempest, but this time, there was no cocoon to retreat into. Before they could respond, Maria appeared at my side, her brow furrowed with concern. "Maybe it's best if you just know," I interjected sharply. The plea in her eyes made my heart ache, but I needed to know. "I want to hear the truth. All of it." With a hesitant glance at my parents, Mariah's resolve solidified. "There are things about your mother, her past, that are getting harder to keep from you." My mother's face paled, her lips thinning into a grim line. "It's not the right time for this, Maria. Not in front of her. But she deserves to know." Mariah's voice was steady, a sparks of defiance flickering to life amid the chaos. "She can't keep living in a bubble, pretending everything is normal when it's not. Your mother, she's not just Alice. There's so much more." "What does that mean?" I cried, feeling both anger and fear rise like bile in my throat. Why can't anyone just tell me? In that charged moment, silence fell heavy upon us. My mother's gaze dropped to the floor. "Because I never wanted you to be part of this," she finally said, her voice brittle like thin glass. "I wanted to protect you. I thought you could have a normal life. Hiding the truth is not protection." I shot back, feeling the heat of betrayal searing through my veins. Tears welled in her eyes, shimmering like fragile stars in the encroaching darkness. "You don't understand what you're asking for," she whispered, voice trembling. "Some truths unravel everything. They change who you are." As her words settled around us, a chill swept through the room, seeping into my bones. The wall of denial that had shielded me for so long began to crumble, but with it rose an unexpected fear of what lay beneath. Would knowing the truth mean losing my family? Just as the weight of the silence became unbearable, a loud thud came from the front of the house, followed by the sound of shattering glass. All our heads whipped around toward the noise, startled. "Stay here," my father ordered, his authority returning for the first time. But I felt a tug of resolve stronger than the fear gnawing at my insides. I pushed past them, heart racing as I dashed toward the front hall, where shadows danced menacingly. What had happened? What more could be revealed in a world that had already begun to unravel? As I reached the entryway, a figure emerged from the shadows, a stranger, wrapped in a dark coat, their expression unreadable. They met my gaze, and in that fleeting moment, an unspoken connection flickered between us. "Who are you?" I demanded, breathless. "I'm someone who knows what your family has kept hidden for so long," the stranger said, their voice low and gravelly, sending a chill racing down my spine. And just like that, the crescendo of my heart threatened to drown out the world, leaving me teetering on the precipice of revelation, wrapped in uncertainty and fear, as the ground beneath me felt like it was slipping away. The hallway felt longer than any I had known, shadows stretching across the walls like ominous hands reaching toward me. The stranger's gaze was piercing, holding secrets like precious stones, and yet all I could do was blink, bewildered by the surreal nature of this encounter. "Please, I don't have time for riddles," I said, clenching my fists at my sides. "What do you know? What is this about my family? Your mother Alice isn't just who you think she is. There are layers to her history that are about to collide with your present," the stranger replied, their voice a low thread weaving through the tension thick in the my heart raced, fear mingling with a desperate urge to uncover the truth. "Is this why they keep looking over their shoulders? Is this why they're afraid?" I felt the salt of impending tears pricking my eyes. You can't just drop hints, and the door creaked open behind me, and my parents emerged, expressions fraught with anxiety. Step away from her. My father thundered, a protective stance between the stranger and me, though I shrank under the weight of their concern. Dad, no. You don't understand. They know something important, I protested, desperation leaking into my voice. I didn't care if I was challenging him. All I wanted was to grasp a thread of the unresolved mystery. The stranger remained silent, their impenetrable eyes betraying nothing as the tension spilled into the room. Leave her be, William. She deserves to understand, my mother whispered, her voice cracking with an uncharacteristic fragility. You think this is safe? Exposing her to unknown threats? His voice echoed with an authority that fell flat against the apprehension accumulating around us. But keeping her in the dark isn't safe either. She shot back, and I saw in her eyes a flicker of the fight I always wished she had, one that was finally rekindled in the face of us all. Who are you? I turned to the stranger, desperation clawing at my throat. Please, tell me something real that I am the maid. They replied cryptically, the words tinged with layers of meaning that only deepened my confusion. The keeper of secrets, for better or worse. And I've seen enough to know that the truth always surfaces, often in devastating ways. A chill wind blew through the open door, unsettling the fragile atmosphere, and I instinctively took a step closer to them. What do you mean? What can't they tell me? What is so terrible that they're willing to risk losing me? In time, you'll know, they said, each syllable filled with a heavy finality. But for now, know that the cracks are already starting to show. You cannot run from what they've hidden, not forever. With each word, the threads of my fabric felt pulled, fraying and intertwining with fear and anger. I'm not running. I want answers. I want the front door slammed, followed by the jarring echo of footsteps rushing through the house. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Worry washed over my parents' faces as they exchanged frantic glances. Not now, my father muttered, gripping my mother's arm tightly. I couldn't help it. The instinct to flee rose within me, but I stood firm. What's happening? Is it dangerous? Stay here. I mean it. He commanded, though I could see the panic in his eyes. No, you can't keep shutting me out. My voice broke, fear ripping through as if shackles had snapped free. Let me help. Just as my father opened his mouth to chastise me further, the shadow of a figure lurked behind my parents, framing the doorway in a haunting silhouette. My breath caught in my throat as uncertain recognition washed over might was Maria, her face pale and her expression harried. There's been an incident at the estate, she gasped, breathless and wide-eyed, clutching onto the doorframe for support. Somebody has come for your mother, something from her past. The words hung like stones in the air, dragging my heart to the floor. What? I whispered, feeling my world tilt once again. Maria took a shuddering breath. We have to leave. Now. Before I could react, a deafening crash echoed from the rear of the house, the unmistakable sound of splintering wood followed by startled cries. My heart thundered in my chest, as the reality of a family in chaos shifted from the shadows of my parents' secrets into an immediate, alarming presence. Go. Now. My father shouted, urgency cutting through the air, but just as we turned to flee, I met the stranger's gaze. Once Maureen, unshakable certainty, cloaked in mystery, lingered there. And as I ran, scrambling down the hall towards an uncertain future, I knew that whatever lay ahead would tear the fabric of my reality even further apart. The world spun with madness, but somewhere within it all, a chilling realization clawed at me. Here was no escaping the truth that was destined to upheave our lives once and for all. The night felt alive with chaos as we barreled down the hallway, the sounds of splintering wood and frantic shouts echoing behind me. Each step I took sent shockwaves of fear coursing through my veins, anchoring me to the dread unfurling within my heart. I glanced back at my parents, their faces contorted with worry, eyes wide and breaths quickening. I could see that they were battling their own alarm, torn between protecting me and confronting whatever upheaval loomed in the shadows. Stay close, my mother exclaimed, reaching for my hand. The warmth of her grip was fleeting, yet it ignited a wavering flame of comfort in the turmoil around us. But with every twist and turn of the darkened house, the gnawing uncertainty gnawed deeper. Maria, what do you mean, something from her past? I managed to choke out as I sprinted close to the others, panic swirling in my chest like a storm that I don't know. She panted, her face pale against the dim light emanating from the fixtures above. Only that whatever it is, it's here, and it's after your mother. A violent shove against the back door rattled the house, drawing a strangled yelp from my throat. My father hesitated, urgency wrestling with survival instincts within him. This way, he commanded, shoving us toward the kitchen. As we rushed into the room, time seemed to slow. I could hear the rapid beating of my heart, yet my senses heightened, picking up every detail: the scent of burnt toast from earlier in the day, the cool metal of a forgotten knife resting against the counter, and the rising panic in the air that engulfed us like a suffocating blanket. We ducked low as another crash erupted. I looked over at my parents. My mother's face was pale, her fingers trembling. "We'll find a way out," she whispered, trying to reassure me, yet every fleeting glance betrayed her fear. "Not without confronting it," I whispered back, unable to shake the urgency clawing at me. "Whatever it is can't stay hidden. They've kept secrets for too long, and it sounds like they're coming to claim them." Before my mother could respond, the back door burst open, splinters flying, and a dark silhouette poured in, seizing the light of the room. My heart raced as adrenaline shot through me. I could barely make out the figure, but the air seemed charged with hostility and intent. "Move!" my father shouted, colliding into me with a force that propelled us toward the pantry. The figure stepped farther inside, revealing a man with sharp, hawkish features. He seemed almost to emanate a chilling calm amidst the chaos. "William," he said, a low, threatening rasp twisting the air. "You cannot protect her. The time has come." Every instinct in me screamed to run, but I couldn't look away. The words hung ominously, their gravity sinking deep into my bones. "Who are you?" I spat, my voice trembling despite my bravado. "What do you want with her?" The man's eyes flickered toward my mother, and I saw something dark, a recognition that sent chills racing down my spine. "You know exactly why I am here, Alice. The past doesn't forget, and neither do those who have been wronged." I felt the heat flush through my veins. "Leave her alone. She's done nothing to you." My heart pounded furiously, each beat urging me to stand strong, to defy the inevitability that had wrapped our lives in chains. But the tension was breathtakingly thick, and I could see the shadow of fear crossing my mother's face as her secret began to unravel in the very air surrounding us. She stepped forward, bridging the space between the stranger and herself, an uncharacteristic resolve firing behind her frightened eyes. "I thought I left that life behind," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet firm. "Do not drag my family into your vengeance." The air crackled with the weight of buried truths, and I realized that the depths of which my mother had hidden her past were about to explode in a kaleidoscope of revelations. "You've put us in danger," I shouted, unable to restrain my hurt any longer. "What does he mean by vengeance? What have you done?" Suddenly, the pantry door slammed shut, plunging us into darkness. Panic rising like bile in my throat. I could hear the soft thud of footsteps growing nearer. Fear gnawed at me, but within that darkness, I felt the flicker of something else, a desperate hope that perhaps, amidst the chaos and the pain, there was a chance for salvation, a fleeting moment where honesty might mend the fraying edges of our lives. And then, in the darkest recesses, another raspy voice emerged from the shadows, a voice I never expected to hear. "Alice, we can't hide any longer. They will not rest until the truth is revealed." The stranger, the maid, stood behind me, their eyes gleaming faintly in the pitch black. The weight of their presence sent a jolt through me, intertwining with my rising hope and deepening dread that in that moment, I understood. I was on the brink of uncovering the sinister tapestry that wove my family together, and it wouldn't just change our lives, it could tear us apart forever. As fear coiled tightly within me, I knew whatever lay ahead would demand everything I had left, and more. The darkness seemed to stretch and pulse around us, enveloping every breath we took. The air felt stifling, heavy with anticipation, and I could barely discern my parents breathing beside me. My heart thudded a frantic rhythm as I turned to the maid, a figure I had always regarded as a fixture in our home, now transformed into a harbinger of unsettling revelations. "Why now?" I asked, my voice rising above the thundering chaos outside. "What do you know that we don't?" She hesitated, the weight of her words palpable in the silence that followed. There are things about your mother's past that should have been buried, secrets rooted in decisions made long before your birth. The man who came for her, he's tied to those decisions. My mother's hand found mine, squeezing tightly, the warmth offering a brief respite from the chilling truth unfurling before me. Alice, the maid continued, her voice trembling slightly, the consequences of those choices are coming to collect. You don't understand. My mother interjected, her tone filled with desperation. I did what I had to do to protect us, to give you a better life. The maid shook her head, her gaze steely in the dark. But at what cost? The truth has a way of finding those who try to outrun it. Another crash echoed through the house, and I could feel the walls reverberate with threats barely contained. The figure of the man loomed just beyond our awareness, his presence a disquieting omen of the chaos that loomed over us. Enough of this, he roared, the harshness of his voice cutting through our fragile unity. Alice, you could have chosen loyalty, but you chose silence. And now, the price is steep. As he stepped closer, the dim light filtered through the broken door, illuminating his face more fully. The cold, calculated gleam in his eyes sent chills down my spine. You think your secrets are safe? I'm here to expose the lies you've crafted, the family you've built on deception. Stop, I yelled, rising to my feet, adrenaline racing through my body. Leave my mother alone. Whatever happened, we can face it together. The moment those words left my mouth, I knew how inadequate they were against the storm gathering at our doorstep. But deep inside, a flicker of hope ignited a desperate wish that by confronting this, we could find some semblance of truth and peace. This is bigger than you, child, he replied, a twisted smile forming on his lips. Your family's past is a tangled web, and sooner or later, you'll see how far the threads stretch. He gestured toward the door as if beckoning an invisible presence to join us. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from another room, slicing through the tension like a knife. I gasped as I recognized the paint-chipped frame of my childhood home, vibrating in response to whatever horror awaited us. My parents shifted nervously, torn between the instinct to protect and the haunting knowledge that we could not remain hidden forever. In that moment of chaos, the maid leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You deserve to know the whole truth, but it's dangerous. There are others who would do anything to silence it. Fear wrapped around my heart like a vice, squeezing tightly. What do you mean others? I pressed, my breath hitching. Who else is involved? The maid's eyes flashed with concern as she glanced toward my parents, gauging their reactions. Years ago, your mother made a decision, a choice that affected more than just your family. It created enemies. People who won't stop until they reclaim what they believe is. There's not a cold wave of realization washed over me. The unease that had grown in the pit of my stomach unfurled into an all-consuming dread. Is it about me? I whispered, barely able to voice the thought. No, you're just the latest in their sights. But they will use you to hurt your mother. This isn't just about her past. It's about the legacy of what she left behind. My gaze darted to my mother, her face pale, revealing the scars of old wounds that hadn't yet healed. You have to let us in, Mom. If we face this together, it's our only chance. I pleaded, my heart breaking at the thought of the battle we were poised to confront. For a moment, her eyes softened, and I thought I caught a glimpse of the woman driven by love and sacrifice, the mother who fought fiercely against a world that seemed determined to take everything from us. I wanted to protect you from this, but now before she could finish, the door burst open, and in rushed another figure, breathless and wide-eyed. Help! They're coming. They know where you are. Behind that voice, a wave of panic crashed through me like a relentless storm. The man in the shadows smirked, stepping back into the fragmented light with an air of triumph, as the new arrival cowered by the threshold. Who are you? I asked, heart pounding, fear contorting my gut. But before he could respond, the shadows began to stir, and there were whispers, a low murmur that seemed to rise from the walls themselves, haunting echoes of the past intertwining with our fragile present. And as I braced for the confrontation I had unwittingly invited, I knew we were on the brink of something monumental, a conflict rooted in my family's shadows, and there was no turning back now. In that chaotic moment, I understood that every secret that lingered would unravel before us, for better or for worse, and the truth had teeth. The air crackled with tension as the figure in the doorway stepped into our tenuous sanctuary. His face was drawn, lined with the weight of urgency, but the spark of fear in his eyes caught me off guard. A part of me felt a desperate need to demand his story, but the chaos around us pulsed louder, drowning out reason. We have to leave now, he urged, urgency dripping from every word. It's not safe here. They're closing in. My mother instinctively moved closer to my father, the protective circle of our family fraying at the edges. What do you mean they know where we are? Who's coming? She fought to keep her voice steady, but the tremor betrayed her rattle. They've been tracking us since I left, he replied, his gaze darting toward the door as if expecting it to splinter apart at any moment. I overheard them discussing plans to descend on your home. They want what's yours and they'll stop at nothing. In that instant, I felt a pulse of anger igniting within me, fueled by a mixture of fear and defiance. You think I'm going to stand by while you drag us away from our home? This is our family. I spat, the force of my words surprising even myself. Alice, my mother whispered, her tone pleading as she squeezed my hand. This isn't just about us anymore. There are forces at play, dark forces. Suddenly, the walls of our home felt like they were closing in, the family memories stored within them suffocating under the weight of impending doom. I cast a glance at the maid, unsure of how much she knew and whether her presence here was a blessing or a curse. Do you know who's coming? I asked, the words spilling out with impatience. She nodded slowly, her eyes glinting with something dark. They're not just strangers. They have ties to your mother's choices, the debts she never paid, the betrayals that have echoed through the years. They're not here for reconciliation. They're here for retribution. A knot formed in my stomach as I began to piece together the fragments of what had once been a mundane life, years of family dinners, laughter, and love, now tainted by secrets and repercussions I had never dreamed lay beneath the surface. What did she do? I whispered, desperate for clarity despite the dread gnawing at my heart. Alice, please, my mother's voice stumbled. You don't understand the lengths I went to then make me understand. I snapped, anger and desperation wrestling for dominion over my feelings as the walls echoed our chaos. All I know is that we're facing something terrible, and you can't shield me from it anymore. For a heartbeat, the air around us stilled, and in that silence, a glimmer of resolve sparked in my mother's eyes. Before she could begin to speak, a distant rumble rolled through the house, menacing and powerful, reverberating off the walls like an omen. It sent a shiver down my spine. That we don't have time, the man yelled, his urgency carving through the tension. If they find this house, they'll tear apart everything you hold dear. We need to gather what we can and go right now. As panic threatened to bubble over, I caught a glimpse of my father's resigned expression, the weight of our reality settling heavily upon him. He was the rock, the one who seldom wavered, yet now I could see the flicker of fear shadowing him. The world of safety and comfort, so expertly crafted over years, now lay in tatters at our feet, and I could almost hear the remnants of our past whisper mockingly, "Do we run?" I found myself asking, the word tasting foreign on my tongue. What if we leave and they follow? There's no choice, the maid interjected, her voice firmer now. The storm is already here. Staying puts you in even greater danger. The realization hit with a chilling clarity. Leaving would mean abandoning everything I had ever known, and yet staying meant succumbing to the chaos that sought to consume us whole. We can't let them take everything from us, I said softly, my resolve strengthening in the face of catastrophe. Whatever debt our family owes, we face it together come what may. Suddenly, the sound of splintering wood shattered my thoughts. The intrudes were closing in, relentless. In their pursuit. Grab your things, my mother said, her voice high and pointed. We're leaving now. They'll explain everything. The urgency wafted between us like smoke. But before I could take a single step toward my room, the door burst open, revealing a tall silhouette, half illuminated, half veiled by the menacing darkness outside. And then I caught sight of something that seized my brain, the glimmer of familiarity woven into the chaos that stood before me. Mother, I have come for you, said the figure, voice low and mesmerizing. Terror gripped my heart as the realization dawned this was no stranger. The man standing there was tied to my birthright, the sum of our family's mysteries unfolding around him like a deadly flower. My knees went weak as the weight of his words pressed down, and in that moment, I understood the full impact of the battle ahead. This was not just about uncovering secrets, but about choosing which bonds to sever and which to fight for. And as the room filled with endless possibility, I could only wait, breathless and trembling, for the next revelation to tear through our fragile assembly. As the figure filled the doorway, shadows seemed to writhe around him, drawn toward his presence like moths to a flame. His words hung thick in the air, each syllable heavy with implication. My heart raced. I felt like a spectator trapped within the unfolding saga of our family's Historia, history I had barely begun to scratch the surface of. "Who are you?" I stammered, the question escaping my lips before I could think better of it. With a slow, deliberate movement, he stepped further into the room, revealing more of his features. His eyes, a deep, unsettling green, shimmered with a depth I couldn't fathom. There was something hauntingly familiar about him, as if bits of my lineage were swirling to the surface, begging for acknowledgement. "That I am William," he said, the name rolling off his tongue like a whisper of thunder. "Your brother." That I glanced at my mother, whose face was now devoid of color, like the canvas of a painter stripped of the vibrancy of life. The truth of his identity rippled through the room, displacing the air in a way that felt explosive. "Mom?" The tremor in my voice punctuated the question, seeking clarity in a maelstrom of confusion. She had not yet found her voice, her gaze fixed on William, as if he were both a revelation and a ghost. I thought you were lost," she managed finally, her voice cracking with emotion. "How did you find us? Once you step into the shadows, they remember you," he replied cryptically, his gaze now fixed on me. "They always remember." The maid stood frozen, eyes wide, as if she had seen this moment before and knew the peril it heralded. I could see the flicker of her own tumultuous history woven into the fabric of our once quiet lives. "William, why are you here now?" I demanded, clinging to whatever sliver of control I could muster amidst the uncertainty. "To protect you," he asserted, his voice steady. "The debts our family created can no longer be ignored. This has always been a war of shadows, and it's your turn to choose whether you will inherit the burden or fight to reclaim what's rightfully yours." Panic swirled within me. "You think I want this? I didn't even know I had a brother." Breaths came quick and shallow, emotions merging into a tangled mix of bewilderment and anger. "Why didn't you come sooner?" "I had to hide," he said. "They were looking for you, Alice. The moment I learned you were alive, I couldn't risk revealing myself until I was certain I could protect you." "Protect me?" My laughter was bitter, underscored by disbelief. "You show up now, with the chaos closing in, claiming to protect me while dragging more secrets into my life?" The man's expression softened in a way that caught me off guard. "I didn't choose this lifetime, Alice, but I've watched over you from afar. I could do nothing else." Just as I felt the tendrils of hope start to wrap around my heart, a deafening crash echoed from the back of the house, wood splintering like dry bones as the intruders poured in, their shouts filling the air like a hive disturbed. My heart raced, instincts kicking in. "We have to go?" I cried, suddenly torn between the desperate need to flee and the whirlwind of newfound revelations swirling around my family. The doors, windows, everything began to rattle as fear deepened its grip on our sanctuary. My mother grasped my arm tightly, forcing me to meet her gaze. "Alice, we don't have time for this. We need to trust him. He knows the shadows, the shadows." His words lingered in my mind, like whispers pulling me toward a destiny I had never asked for. But could I trust this stranger who carried my blood, yet revealed nothing but secrets? The room erupted in chaos as more figures clambered into our space, their intentions evident in their fixed, predatory looks. William stepped protectively in front of us, expanding the sense of danger that enveloped the room. "Stay close to me." That we forged a desperate circle of family reborn from the ashes of betrayal and secrets. Every heartbeat felt amplified, charged with the weight of our shared past. But in those throes of fear, amid the urgency to escape, something unexpected happened. The maid looked me in the eye, a sorrowful smile forming. "You will find strength in knowing who you are. Embrace your inheritance, Alice. There is power in facing the truth." Before I could respond, the intruders burst through the last barriers, their figures cascading into the light, filling our sanctuary with an impenetrable dark. A voice sliced through the chaos, low and chilling. We've come for our due. And just like that, the stark reality of our situation crystallized. The stakes were far higher than I had imagined, and my family was on the cusp of unraveling. And then, in the whirlwind of chaos, an unexpected collision of emotions seized me. A voice I recognized from long ago rang out above the clamor. Alice. I turned slowly, the familiar sound echoing in my ears, and a chilling realization swept over. Might was someone I thought I'd lost forever. My heart gripped by shock as I faced the returning specter of my childhood, someone who might change everything again. The fight we faced now was more than just our family's legacy. It was intertwined with lives, with love, and truths that were yet to surface. The questions loomed, threatening to swallow me whole. As the shadows closed in, I realized I was standing at the precipice of a truth that was both terrifying and exhilarating. Would I be able to reclaim my family's legacy, or would I be ensnared in the web of darkness that threatened to consume us all? The figures around me loomed like echoes of a life I never fully understood. Panic surged through me, but I grasped at the lifeline the maid had thrown, her words reverberating in my mind. Embrace your inheritance. Those words were growing sharper, more insistent, like a heartbeat pushing back against the chaos. Who are you? I demanded, my voice cracking against the backdrop of the intruders' threatening shouts. Their faces blurred, shadows twisting in the fluorescent light, and I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. Alice, it's me. The voice cut through the fray, familiar enough to wash over me like a tide. It was soft, yet urgent, the kind of warmth that could heal or devastate depending on the context. My breath caught in my throat as I turned my gaze to where the call came from. And there he stood, Jacob, my childhood friend, the boy who had once been my sanctuary in a world fraught with disarray. His presence felt like stepping into the sunlight after a prolonging winter. Yet now, that warmth was dappled with shadows. Jacob? My heart raced as questions lit up the dark corners of my mind. What are you doing here? How did you? I'm here to help. To warn you have to come with me. He insisted, but his eyes darted nervously toward William, who rigidly blocked our escape. Help? The words stumbled unsteadily off my lips, diving into a whirlpool of confusion and remembrance. He had disappeared years ago, leaving behind a hollow space where laughter and secrets once danced. To see him again, now in this moment, felt both surreal and wrong. You don't understand, trust him. William's fierce voice cut through. He's not part of this. They're not looking for him. The intruders moved steadily closer, their laughter sharp and derisive, filled with an insatiable hunger that gnawed at the edges of our fractured resolve. The sense of claustrophobia pressed against my chest, but Jacob's presence was like an anchor, dragging me back from the brink of despair. In that fragile moment, memories surged forth, eclipsing the shadows. Jacob's laughter on the swings, us hiding under blankets, crafting our fantasies of endless summers and unyielding loyalty. How had I forgotten? You promised to come back for me, I whispered, the weight of old wounds igniting. That I did, Alice. He faltered, and vulnerability spilled over his features. I never meant to hurt you. My family. Before he could complete the thought, there was a deafening crash, and we were thrown as chaos erupted anew. An intruder lunged toward us, rage etched across his painted face. There's nowhere left to run. Go, Alice. William shouted, adjusting his stance, positioning himself like a shield between danger and hope. Run. Every instinct screamed at me to obey, but another larger part of me felt tethered to that familiar voice. Jacob, we can't leave him. My heart pounded in time with the urgency of the moment. Listen to me. Jacob grabbed my arm, desperate and earnest. We can't fight them all. I can take you somewhere safe. Please, we have to go now. Torn between loyalty to blood and the ghost of my past, I felt the inexorable pull of both sides, a divide that threatened to swallow me whole. I can't abandon him, I said, my voice trembling. Then we'll fight together. His earnest words cut through the fog of confusion, igniting a flicker of warmth in my chest. I've trained, Alice. I'm not the same boy who left. I've learned how to stand against the shadows. But there was little time to ponder the depth of his declaration. The air thickened with tension, an electrifying anticipation thrumming through everyone present. Jacob, I choose you, I cried out, sealed by an undeniable bond that once had been ingrained deeper than blood. But just as we began to run, pulling away from William's protective aura, a silhouette emerged from the darkness, blocking our path. It was an imposing figure, cloaked in shadow, with eyes that bored into my soul, recognizing me in ways even I did not. "You think you can escape your fate?" The voice, cold and haunting, sent shivers racing up my spine. And then, leaning closer, a revelation struck like lightning. "Alice, do you know who you truly are?" In that basic, last moment, I realized the truth that had been surface-said me life, my family, and now Jacob, intertwined in a tapestry of darkness and light I had yet to fully comprehend. Before the heaviness of his words could settle, a jarring explosion of sound shattered the air, scattering debris and echoes of danger that threatened to dissolve into all certainty. Caught in a moment where everything hung suspended, I found myself regretting the choice made in haste, yearning for the clarity I had once taken for granted. With Jacob at my side and shadows swirling in, I felt the world bend and twist beneath the weight of our fates yet to be sealed. And just as the reality of who I was began to forge a path in my heart, the floor beneath us trembled an echo of something unfurling, a truth that promised to break wide open the family legacy I was unequipped to handle. Would this be the end, or a chance to light the way for another battle? The choice loomed larger than ever before, and I stood on a knife edge, waiting to plunge into the unknown. The air crackled with tension, a palpable energy that wrapped around us like a thunderstorm, heavy and electric. The figure in front of me remained shrouded in darkness, their forbidding presence growing more defined as they stepped closer into the light. I could see the glint of an emblem etched upon the edge of their cloak, a crest that felt both foreign and hauntingly familiar. My heart raced, its rhythm echoing my mounting dread. I didn't know my family's history, my inheritance. I only knew fragments, whispers of power and betrayal that had drifted through my youthful days like forgotten fairy tales. But now, as the figure approached, those tales seemed to beckon, offering visions of ancient legacies I had never wanted to claim. "Who are you?" I dared to voice the thought that repeatedly pulsed through my mind, demanding clarity amidst the chaos. "I am your lineage, Alice," they replied, their voice a chilling melody laced with secrets. "You are the last of the Veil lineage." The intended weight of the revelation sent shockwaves through me, each word colliding with the fragmented pieces of my identity. My knees threatened to buckle under the sudden gravity of their claim, the world spinning beneath my feet. I looked to Jacob, searching his face for answers, for unwavering support, but all I found was confusion etched into the lines of his brow. "What does that even mean?" My own voice sounded distant, muffled as if submerged underwater. "It means you possess gifts far beyond the ordinary," the figure explained, their eyes dark and impenetrable. "You have the power to usher in change, to access knowledge that has been buried for generations." That a pang of longing flickered through me, imagining a deeper purpose, one that could pry me from this thrashing whirlpool of fear. Yet it was immediately overshadowed by doubt. "I don't want anything to do with this," I exclaimed, the words tearing free from a place deep within, fueled by the childhood dreams I had sacrificed at the altar of normalcy. "I just want my life back, my choice." Jacob caught my gaze, his eyes a mirror of concern. "Alice, you have to understand. This is about more than just you. It holds weight beyond what we can see right now. There's so much at stake. Is this what you've been hiding all along?" I turned on him, my heart shattering the fragile illusion of trust we had almost formed. "Is this why you disappeared? To escape your destiny?" "Alice, listen to me. I didn't want to be part of this either. But the realities of it." He struggled for words, his breath hitching with emotion. "I thought I could protect you, keep you out of it, but that's not possible now." With every second, the situation unraveled like a frayed seam. The looming figures shifted imperceptibly closer, their expression a mask of indifference, but I could feel the hunger for power radiating from them. They were searching for something, a piece of me locked away in the recesses of my unwritten legacy. The room pulsated with rumbles of chaos as those intruders pressed forward, emboldened by the momentary distraction. Their laughter seemed to mock my hesitation, fragments of darkness weaving around me, threatening to swallow my resolve as surely as a storm swallows the horizon. "Step forward, Alice," the figure beckoned, their voice a smooth caress laced with danger. Embrace your birthright. You have a chance to take control of this legacy, to turn the tides in your favor. I felt the weight of the choice settle heavily on my shoulders, each second stretching unbearably as I glanced back at William, still positioned defiantly in front of us. He was fighting for more than just his own survival. He was my lifeline in this abyss. "Don't do it, Alice," William shouted, a raw, urgent command that reached into my soul. "It's a trap. You don't know who you're dealing with." But beneath the tumult of voices, beneath my fear, a deeper yearning echoed. "I want to know who I am," I whispered, the desperation spilling from my heart like a prayer. "I need to understand what's happening." In that moment, a flicker of resolution emerged from the chaos. "You have the means within you, Alice," the figure pressed, voice urging and alluring, promising answers to questions I had buried for too long. "Only you can unlock what has been sealed for generations." The urgency of their proposition gripped me, pulling me closer to a precipice until I felt Jacob's hand clutch mine, grounding me. "Alice," he murmured, drawing me back from the edge of decision. "You can't do this alone. You need to lean on those who love you." Before I could respond, an explosion of shouts shattered our momentary truce. The intruders lunged forward, their intentions clear and their hunger palpable. William surged toward them, fists raised in defiance. In that instant, I felt the branch of power crackling against my fingertips, a strange awakening of that hidden inheritance I couldn't quite comprehend. "Alice," Jacob yelled, panic lacing his voice. "Don't let them take you." As I stood on the precipice of understanding who I was destined to be, time stretched, and clarity enveloped me in an eerie hush. There was so much at stake, woven into the fabric of our choices, and I could sense that the night was about to spiral into a darkness riddled with unexpected turns. With my heart racing, I summoned every ounce of strength, leaning into the warmth of Jacob's presence. "Together, then," I declared, standing resolute despite the impending chaos-me choice cementing itself in the crucible of uncertainty. As we faced the encroaching darkness, something unimaginable stirred deep within me, a whisper of courage rising, begging to be unleashed. But lurking within that promise was the haunting uncertainty of what would awaken me new lineage, both a gift and a curse. And just as the world faded into a swell of chaos, I heard the figure's final words pierce through the turmoil. "Your destiny awaits, Alice Vale." The revelation crashed in like a wave, and suddenly, I was left grappling, wrestling with the specter of destiny, poised on the edge of a moment that could fracture everything I had ever known. What did it all mean? And as the shadows loomed closer, I stood at an unparalleled crossroads, waiting for the storm to break. The world around me erupted in chaos, the air thick with the palpable tension of impending violence. I stood, heart racing, facing my new brother William, cloaked in the mysteries of our family's past. I had never imagined that blood could feel like both a burden and a lifeline. Yet here I was, tethered to him by truths neither of us fully understood. "Your birthright is at risk, Alice," William urged, the urgency in his voice slicing through the din. "What they want isn't just you, it's the power you possess." My mind reeled, grappling with the weight of his words. A legacy thrust upon me, a destiny intertwined with shadows I had only begun to glimpse. I turned to Jacob. His presence grounded me in an uncertain storm. "What do we do?" I whispered, the question hanging between us like a lifeline. "I wish I had the answers," he replied, voice quaking, eyes bright with a mix of fear and hope. "We fight together, for your truth and for the family you choose." The figure in the corner gestured forward, drawing my gaze back. It was time for clarity, no more secrets. I squared my shoulders, resolve hardening. "I need to know everything." A sudden crash interrupted our gathering, the back door smashing open as intruders flooded in, ominous and determined. Their laughter echoed like a death knell as I braced myself beside William and Jacob. My heart thrummed with a resolve fueled by rage and the fierce love for those standing beside me. "Charge!" William bellowed, and with that single command, we surged forward, breaking through the chaos like a tidal wave. My body was propelled into a whirlwind of motion, adrenaline coursing through me. I could see Jacob, fierce and strong, pushing ahead, while William fought valiantly by my side. "Stay together," we shouted, a rallying cry bonding our spirits as we surged into the fray. The shadows like a blanket around us began to waver as the light of our unity shone through, piercing through their darkness. But just as we thought we'd take control, I felt Ida's surge of energy, thrumming beneath my skin, beckoning me to release it. This power was mine, part of the legacy I had never chosen, yet now this very moment demanded that I embrace it. I am Alice Vale, I shouted, the name filling me, transforming belief into force. And I will not be defined by your fears. The electricity pulsed stronger as I reached toward the darkness, weaving through the intruder's intent, harnessing the depths of my ancestry. It coiled around me, fiery and alert, a protective armor enveloping me. As I finally understood that my past didn't hold me captive, it empowered me, that a blast resonated like thunder, and I thrust my hands forward, feeling the energy expand, erupt through the air, creating a barrier that knocked the first wave of intruders backward. The space around us flickered as if reality itself trembled, and I could see William and Jacob glance back at me, astonishment mingled with pride dawning in their eyes. More. I gasped, the need flooding my veins like a river bursting its banks. We faced this together. With each word, I harnessed more power. Each thought layered memories, battles of past lives swirling within myths, sacrifices made, the love given freely, the darkness shunned. Voices from the shadows echoed, both haunting and familiar, urging me forward, a cacophony of wills igniting my heart into a blaze of purpose. And then it hit, sending shockwaves through the crowd of intruders as a flood breached their sanctuary. Some fell back, too weak to withstand the force. Others, alarmed, hesitated, caught in disbelief that far outweighed their expectations. Empowered by the legacy, our family's blood entwined with the energy of countless lives fought for, imprisoned yet resolute. Fight. Fight for our truth. I screamed as the shadows writhed, bending to our will. I found Jacob's gaze, filled now with a fierce light. Together, he echoed, lifting his fists in solidarity. We became a force, united against the encroaching dread, each surge of magic pulling the remnants of our family together. And against the ravages of the past, I could feel the presence of our father, a legacy woven in love and sacrificial, a lineage worth fighting for. As the energy built, I could hear the roar of the crowd outside receding against the overwhelming light erupting within us, piercing through the darkness. And with one final thrust, I released the built-up magic towards the intruders, blinding light radiating from my palms, scattering them like autumn leaves in the wind. Even as they grasped at the fading threads of the nightmare gripping us, it was in that glorious moment, amid the rubble and echoes fading into the night, that clarity swept over me like a gentle caress. I was no longer just Alice, no longer caught in the whirlwind of confusion and hurt. I was Alice Vale, daughter of secrets and power, a force too significant to be overshadowed by the past. The last of the shadows dissolved. The air shimmered, leaving behind an undeniable silence, filled with the promise of new beginnings. I turned, the adrenaline finally softening, unspooling the tension woven tight in my chest. In that sanctuary of rebirth, amid the swirling echoes of love and sacrifice, I found their faces, Jacob's warmth beside me, William's fierce determination rallying their strength, and Maria, my steadfast warrior, anchoring us in this newfound reality. And as I looked into their eyes, I knew with absolute certainty that our family would rise, unshackled from the shadows that had sought to ensnare us for so long. We would reclaim our story and craft it anew, because we were united. From the ashes of our past, we rise, I whispered, exhaling the weight of a million forgotten fears, only to watch as the first rays of dawn crested the horizon, evidence that life could flourish, even after a storm had raged. And as the new day broke, it felt like we were reborn, not just to face the world, but to embrace it with open arms. I was ready, finally ready, for whatever lay ahead. Together, the word hung between us, a promise forged in blood and fire, echoing through every echo of our entwined souls. And so we stepped into the light, hearts unburdened, ready to forge a new legacy of our own, a legacy built not on secrets, but on love. Together, the promise lingered as our lives began anew, ignited by hope, forged in resilience, and bound by the truths that only we could write.